Gamers. This is John with Gamester81.com. This is part 2 of Retro with Joe. I'll put a link to part 1 below. In part 1, we talked about homebrew games and what to look for with homebrew games. Part 2, we addressed some great questions from you guys as far as what tools do you guys look for as far as the finding a value of a particular game and how to buy and sell games professionally if you guys are into that. So hope you guys enjoy part 2. Thanks for watching.
Now, the other part of this segment today is that we talked last time about starting your own video game business, is selling classic video games as a professional.
Sure.
So one thing I could say before we leave this subject is, are these type of video games a good idea to buy for a business sense, to sell them for a profit? A lot of people would think yes, because of the small production on them. The actual answer on these is, as a commercial enterprise, as a profit-making venture, you probably, other than a few examples, you want to avoid these initially in your business. They tend to be a little bit slower to sell. You have to actually find the right person, and a better way to spend your limited purchasing budget would be on known values of existing rare video games, and maybe not take such a deep position in these homebrews. On the sideline, yes, so we talked last time, about how to come up with values that you can use for buying and selling classic video games as a professional. And I know that there was a question after the video was posted, which was a good one, which is like, where do you get the value? How do you find these auction prices that we presented last time? Anyway, the answer to that is I use a Terapeak, which is a paid service. It's an eBay research software. It allows you to go back and look at auction history for up to 12 months.
Okay.
And if you're serious about jumping into this, you need to consider purchasing that subscription service, because it'll pay for itself many times over. And that's just the answer to that particular question.
What's the website for that?
It's Terapeak. It's TERAPEAK.com.
I'll put a link below. You guys can check that out.
Yeah, it's really it's a premium service. There is a subscription fee, but it's nominal. And if you're going to be doing a lot of this, you need to be as well informed as you possibly can. And I just can't imagine not using that service on basically a daily basis.
And the actual bidding is a lot more comparable to price than just buy it now, right? So buy it now is kind of helpful, but I would think that people actually bidding on items would maybe show you a little bit more as far as what people are willing to pay.
Well, it's a competitive price, and so you have a person that is not making a rash decision, but a maximum position they want to be in. I agree. I think that you can look at both figures. Terapeak allows you to look at buy nows and regular auction values.
Okay.
But at that same episode, it was kind of interesting. We profiled 2 games. One of them was the Surprise at Dinosaur Peak for the NES, remember? And the other one was Chase the Chuckwagon for the Atari. That was about 1 month ago. This was filmed 1 month ago. So in that time frame, at the time, Surprise at Dinosaur Peak, you can go back and with $2,100, $2,100 was the highest price that had been paid for a complete in-box Dinosaur Peak in 2013. So for the previous 3 months from that episode, it had sold for less than that, but the most it had been was $2,100. In the last 30 days, so since we filmed that, another one has sold and it brought $2,500. And so we were talking at the time how that title continues to, increase in price, and it shows that over just a month period that it has sold for more. And the cartridge of that game at the time, in 3 months, it had sold 2 times for over $900. In the last 30 days, it sold 3 times for over $900. So when you talk, at the time we were talking about this game is moving up, what do you want to pay? Should you get in on this if you're going to buy and sell games professionally? Clearly, that game is continuing to increase in price, and quite quickly. So
people are just watching the show, and then
maybe they're jumping online and doing some shopping of their own. It's a good.
We're driving the prices talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're creating our own. Time to sell, John. Time to sell. Anyway, the sheet that we showed on that episode was a list of prices realized for those 2 video games, and what I wanted to kind of finish up today, as far as a thought to pass on for. People considering buying video games is take that information, and what you need to do, the next step in your development process, is you need to come up with something that you can use to buy and sell a video game. So now you have an idea what they sell for, and I'm going to go ahead and see if you can put this up so that the viewers can see a closer up version of this, what I'm talking about. This is an example of one that we use here at Atari2600.com. This is in television video games. And there's about 50 games for the Intellivision system that are rare enough to buy and sell individually. Below this 50 count, they typically are presented in collections and mixed lots. So let's call these the rarities for Intellivision. And you can see on the screen here that what we actually have is our complete in-box and cartridge selling price for these games here. These selling prices are based on the research that we presented in the previous episode. So first you do the research to find what they're selling for, then you create a buy-sell sheet here. And you can use this information when you're contemplating purchasing. It helps you to quickly determine if something is something that you want to add to your inventory here. And the only other point I wanted to highlight about this sheet of information here is that if you study the prices on this, this is actually information that we don't publish, so it's kind of just out there for the first time here. But there's a very small margin. If you look at some of the games on here, you'll notice that we're paying a high percentage of the actual selling price for the game. And that's often not clear when a beginner is considering purchasing rare, expensive classic video games. In a game that sells on here for $300 or $400, you're just not going to buy that game for $50 or $100. It's unreasonable to think so. And so it's better to pay a higher price with a smaller profit and be able to make a small profit and move on to the next opportunity, as opposed to never being in the market in the first place because you think that you're going to pay 10% of the value of a rare game. So this really illustrates on a professional level that when you're buying this class of rare video games, the profit on this is typically 50 to maybe you're paying 50 to 80% of the selling price of the video game.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Well, cool, Joe. Anything else you want to cover here with homebrew?
You know, we kind of touched on the homebrews, and that was an interesting thing because I don't think we've done a show that really covers the modern era of the classic period, transitioned into the buying and selling part of video games. You know, just to summarize, these are not a game that you want to buy deeply in large stock if you're just starting out. And then using your TerraPeak data and putting it into a usable format, an example of that Intellivision sheet that we just showed, so that you have a handy resource when it comes to buying and selling video games.
Okay, cool.
I think we're good on all that.
Awesome. Well, Joe, I appreciate your time. We'll be back next month to do another episode. Guys, I really encourage you guys to check out Atari2600.com. I'll put a link below. Joe sells these games that we have in front of us, among other great games as well for a lot of classic systems. A great website, so great resource as well.
Thanks for that.
So thanks, Joe.
Nice talking to you.
Absolutely.
See ya.
Well, guys, that concludes part 2 of Retro with Joe. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys found this very helpful, informative. Please leave a comment below. I appreciate you guys thumbing upping if you like this video. Also subscribing as well. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.